We're back now with the story of a Texas man set to be executed in 2 weeks for a crime many, including the detective who arrested him, believe never occurred. In an exclusive interview, I spoke to him on death row as a movement builds to save his life. Robert Roberson has spent more than 2 decades on Texas's death row, convicted of fatally shaking his 2-year-old daughter, Nikki, in 2002. Did you harm your daughter, Nikki?
No, sir, I did not harm my daughter.
Roberson said he woke up one night to find Nikki had fallen out of bed. Hours later, she was unconscious, her lips blue. He rushed her to the hospital. And you told the medical staff that she had fallen?
Yes, sir. They didn't believe my story.
Detective Brian Wharton from the Palestine Police Department was called to the hospital.
They were frantically working on this child, trying to figure out what was going on with her, and somewhere in there, shaken baby came into the vernacular.
The medical staff told the detective that Nikki showed signs of abuse and believed she had been shaken to death. And then there was Roberson's curious demeanor.
He wasn't upset. He kind of had a flat affect.
That was a red flag as far as you were concerned?
Well, it struck us as odd.
Nikki was pronounced dead, her father charged with her death, and a year later he was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to die.
He is totally innocent. And not just that, there was no crime.
Robertson's current attorney believes Nikki was misdiagnosed, and that after detecting bleeding behind her eyes and on her brain, which was also swollen, together known as the triad, the doctors looked no further for a cause.
Back then, it was seen as almost, a magical formula. You don't need to look at anything else. You can assume abuse occurred in the form of violent shaking.
If not shaken baby, then what killed Nikki?
There was this tragic death of a chronically ill child. The doctors missed the fact she had a severe, life-threatening pneumonia.
But at trial, Roberson's jury never heard the full extent of Nikki's chronic health history. More than 40 doctor visits over the span of her short life, and a fever of over 104 2 days before she died.
And then prescribed medications that could only have pushed her further over the edge by suppressing her ability to breathe.
Information the police never looked into. Did you have a chance to look into her medical history before arresting Robert?
No, we did not look into her medical history. Again, we were chasing an abuse case.
Pediatrician Dr. Andy Asnes, who was not involved in the case, says identifying abuse requires a thorough investigation.
When making the diagnosis of abusive head trauma, context is absolutely critical. No one can make this diagnosis in the absence of a lot of other important information.
And neither police nor the jury knew Roberson had autism, explaining his perceived lack of emotion. He wasn't diagnosed until 2018. Wharton, now a minister, believes he helped send an innocent man to die. Why are you here?
Because I owe Robert nothing less. And so it's my responsibility to help give him a voice, to help him be heard, because he is an innocent man.
Thousands are fighting to save his life, including a large bipartisan group of Texas lawmakers, some even praying with him on death row. All of Roberson's appeals so far have been denied. Unless the courts or Texas Governor Greg Abbott step in, Roberson will be executed on October 17th.
I know the part of Robert that I hear in my head is that childlike commitment to hope, and that he would say that I can't give up hope.
Can his life be saved at this point?
Gosh, I pray it can.